How we feeling, internet? Jacob here, aka the wannabe film critic, and today I'm here to review the new film Oppenheimer. This is the 12th film from director Christopher Nolan and follows the life and career of Robert Oppenheimer, an American scientist from when he was a student at university to become the project director of the Manhattan Project to after the project, where he severely struggles with the morality of what he's done and some pretty heavy trauma about the possible chain reaction that can occur with creating the atomic bomb. A film I kept thinking about when I watched this was The Wind Rises. It's a movie about a boy who has a lifelong passion for planes and he dreams of growing up and creating them, and he eventually does that. However, it's during World War II, so instead of making planes for travel purposes and just for the love of them, he's making them for war and for violence. He's just growing up in the wrong time, really. And I get that same vibe with Oppenheimer. He's a scientist who has a passion for it. However, he doesn't have a passion to use it for destruction, but he really has no choice. We see at the beginning of the movie that he plans on poisoning his teacher by putting cyanide in his apple. However, he does not go through with this because he realizes that this is wrong and he can't do it. Imagine putting that person in charge of creating an atomic bomb that's going to kill hundreds and thousands of people. You can obviously see the morality struggle that's going to come with that. And that's exactly what happens in this movie. However, it's not until the Trinity test is done, which, by the way, the score during that scene and the score in the entire movie was so well done. This is without a doubt going to get an Oscar nomination and might even win Best Original Score. But we see during the Trinity test that it's not until the explosion goes off and he visually sees it that he realizes, oh, what have I done? Not only a matter of, my God, this creation is going to cause mass destruction, but even beyond that, he's thinking, what does this mean for the future? What does this mean for nuclear weapons? Is it just going to get bigger and bigger and bigger from this? And what I really like about this film is that it doesn't paint Oppenheimer in a light of, oh no, it's okay, what you did was fine, it was right, you shouldn't feel trauma, you shouldn't feel guilty. It really puts you in the mind of Oppenheimer and gets you thinking, was this wrong? Was this right? Did this need to be done? Did it not need to be done? And a great line in this came from Oppenheimer's wife when talking about a completely different thing going on in the movie. She says something along the lines of, the sinner can't feel sorry for what he has sinned. And that's a great line when talking about the bomb, because can he feel sorry for creating this? Can he feel sorry for all of a sudden starting to feel the struggles of it once it goes off? Real quick, just want to talk about how the acting in this movie was so well done across the board, especially Cillian Murphy as Oppenheimer and Robert Downey Jr. as Louis Cross. Robert Downey Jr. as Cross came across so well in this. He played that egotistical character that's all about himself so well. I'm fully expecting an Oscar nomination and an Oscar win, really, for Robert Downey Jr., as well as possibly a win for Cillian Murphy as well. And from a technical standpoint, this movie is pretty much a masterpiece. I mean, you can pretty much expect that from a Nolan film at this point in time. One of my biggest issues with Nolan films, and by the way, I've been ranking every Christopher Nolan movie leading up to this. Here's the list right here. I've been a much bigger fan of the first half of Nolan's work, as from Dark Knight Rises on. I feel like his movies, while they're a technical masterpiece, they all kind of lack heart. Of Christopher Nolan, I always felt that his biggest weakness was his writing. But he has written some great films. I mean, he has The Dark Knight, he has Memento, he has A Prestige, which I think is a highly underappreciated film. But really with Interstellar and Dunkirk, and especially Tenet and Dark Knight Rises, I feel like he's lost that ability to write a movie with a lot of heart and soul in it. And with Oppenheimer, that came back and then some. I think this is his most well-written film to date. Really, my only thing I didn't love about this movie was that there were a ton of characters to follow. It's hard to remember all their names, what their role is, what their role is, what the relationship is with Oppenheimer, what the relationship is with Cross, with this person, with that person. But it does make sense having this many people in it, because with a project as big as the Manhattan Project, it's obviously not going to be filled with this small cast where it's just a few people. It's this giant conglomerate situation going on in America where there's so many moving parts in it. Outside of that, it was 3 hours, which I think isn't that long of a movie, to be honest. And with Oppenheimer, there really isn't a scene I would cut out of this. Everything has its place in this. If you can see this movie in IMAX, absolutely see it in IMAX. By the time this comes out, I don't know if it'll even still be in it, but if it is, make sure to check it out in that. I am very curious to see how this movie plays out on the small screen. Does it still have that same impact? Does it not? By the way, the final sequence of this movie is so incredibly powerful, and I loved it. That's one of those movie scenes that's going to stick with me for a long, long time. All in all, I loved Oppenheimer so much. This feels like a return to peak Nolan. When it comes to this list I made, I'm going to put it at number 2 on the list. I think it's that good. And as far as rating on this goes, I don't know about you, but for me, Oppenheimer is a 9.5, leaning more towards a 9 than a 10. But don't just take my word for it. Go see Oppenheimer yourself. Let me know down in the comments below what you thought of it. Did you like it? Did you hate it? Let me know which movie I should react to next. Guys, I hope you liked this. This was my first ever movie review. I know this one kind of sucked. Hopefully I get better at it, and hopefully there's more to come. Take care.